Happy Sunday, family. Good to see so many of you hanging out with me on this beautiful Sunday afternoon. Welcome to Mindset with Jamil. This is very special where we get to have an opportunity to sit down and talk a little bit about the way that we can help change some of the patterns that are going on in our life so that we can have more of what we want and less of what we don't. And really understanding the difference between the things we want and the things that we don't want, and making sense of this mess of a thought and belief structure that many of us hold. And it is so important in the world of entrepreneurship for us to get this at least under control so that we can evolve into the people that we want to be and showing up the way that will actually impact the world in a positive way. So thank you so much for taking the time to hang with me and to have this theory session. I'm going to start this the way that I would normally with the astro flipping community, and that's with a prayer, because I truly believe that anything and everything that we want or need in our life will find its way to us through our source when we ask and take steps towards it. Now, guys, this is an active process, right? So when I say ask and take steps towards it, that means not just sitting there and looking at life like it's a wishing well, but really embodying, changing the way that we feel and changing the way that we think about things that we actually do want in our life, and then moving towards it. Right now, if this makes you uncomfortable, that's okay. This session's probably not for you. If me praying right now is something you don't want to hear, I would just say it's probably best that you tune in for Straight Outta Compton a little bit later on this afternoon, because this probably isn't going to resonate with you much. But if you would like to continue on, here we go. Father God, we love you so much, Lord. Thank you for today. Thank you for opening all of our eyes and giving us breath, for giving us the minds and the souls to connect and communicate with each other. God, we are so grateful for that. Lord, we ask that you guide each of us to your purpose for our lives, so that the steps we take are your steps, the words we speak, your words, the actions we take, your actions. God, we ask that you guide us to those individuals that will be of benefit to us, either through a financial gain or a lesson we need to learn. And we also ask that you deflect us from those individuals that would waste our time or bring us harm. Lord, for any of our family members here that are in need of any additional understanding of the concepts that we'll go over today, I just pray for perfect clarity in our minds. And for any of us suffering through any physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual pain, we just pray for perfect healing in our lives. And Lord, it is with humble hearts and in your heavenly name we pray. Amen. All right, let's rock and roll. So I made some notes. I always come prepared for these, because to give you an understanding of what even sparked the work that we're doing here. It's that, of course, in our journeys in life, right? All of us, regardless of what station you are in, right? So you might look at me and be like, wow, this guy's achieved a lot of, material success. He's got, flush bank account, thriving business. He has all of the accoutrements of what looks like a very successful life. And for all intents and purposes, that's true, right? But at the same time, I can wholeheartedly share with you from the point of view of somebody who's had all of their materialistic dreams come true, right? That it's not it. It's not. If you believe that once you attain a certain amount of money in your life that you'll finally be happy, I can tell you that that's not going to work. If you feel like once you are able to get this thing in your business, or once your relationship with your significant other hits this specific level, you'll be happy, I can tell you that that's not true. If you think that maybe once you have a certain amount of impact on the world that you'll be happy, I can also tell you that that's not true, right? So when you finally get to these achievements, right, the things that we look at in life, the ornaments that we hang on our Christmas tree of who we are, what ends up happening is you start to realize that all of these things, all of the accomplishments and the recognition and the money and the admiration of people, whatever that is that you may be craving, that it's really hollow. And the high or the feeling that you get of accomplishment doesn't last very long. And it's the same thing for getting a television show. It's the same thing for driving a Rolls Royce. It's the same thing for living in a mansion. I mean, it's cool for the first little bit, and then it just becomes normal. And the same person that you were before is now that same person living in the nicer house, with the better looking or whatever partner. You've got I know that was super shallow, and that's not what I mean, but just like you think, oh, this is the thing, right? These are the things that I want. And it really has a lot to do with your level of development. And so there's 4 levels of development that I want to talk about today. And I want us to be super honest with ourselves about what level of development we're at, because it's important for us to tell ourselves the truth. One of the things that I can tell you I have had an interesting relationship with is the truth. And I don't say that to say that, I'm this like natural born bullshitter. But I think we all are at a level. And it's not about the things that we say to other people, right? Because many of us hold ourselves to be integrous people, honest people, and that we tell the truth. But do we really know the truth? Or are we working through a limited perspective of what we think the truth is? And that's where I got really deep, but also a little messed up about it, because what I thought was true, right, wasn't actually true. If you go back and think about some of the major traumas, the major things, or the major moments of your life that are defining, right? And you try to remember what happened in that specific period of time, what ends up happening is your version of what actually took place versus what actually took place are so different from each other. In fact, research has shown that nearly 50% of what we remember is false. It's us projecting, it's us adding in justification and adding in stories. And we do this as an egoic protection mechanism because we really don't want to sometimes face the reality of what is actually going on. And so being relentlessly honest with ourselves is, I believe, the first step, right? So as I talk about these 4 different levels, I want to break them out into the different beliefs, thoughts, emotions, and actions that are associated with each of these different levels of development, so that you can really hone in and pinpoint where you might sit on that spectrum. All right. So first things first, I'm going to use my whiteboard here. Guys, please forgive me for the way that I write. I have terrible penmanship, and it's even worse when I use the iPad. So forgive me for writing like I'm, a child. I apologize for that, but it is what it is. So you'll just have to put up with it. So give me a second here while I start a new thingamabobber. Here we go. All right. And do me a favor, folks, in the chat right now while I get this figured out. Let me know where you are from. All right. If you are in the astro flipping community, I'd love to know if you were here from that. If you are somebody that is a part of my YouTube community, let me know. If you're from YouTube, you can just write YT. If you're in Sub 2 or Owners Club or one of those other communities, let me know. I just want to have a good understanding of where you guys are joining me from. Cool. So first and foremost, what's really important for us to think about is our beliefs, Those beliefs are going to correspond with thoughts, and those thoughts are going to produce emotions, and those emotions are going to create action. And if we boil it all down, that's pretty much the fundamental of everything that we do in our day, right? We believe something to be true, or we believe something about ourselves, or we believe that we need to do this thing, or we believe this specific thing about the world. And then that creates a thought in our brain. So we start to think this thought, and then that thought creates an emotion in our body. And then that emotion in our body pushes us into action, right? So if you think about anything that you had to do today, maybe you worked out today, right? And so if you worked out today, your belief is that exercise is important for me to live a healthy life. And then because of that belief, you create thoughts in your brain that says, oh, you haven't worked out yet. Time to work out. It's getting late. You got to get to the gym. So these thoughts start to get created in your brain, right? And then those thoughts might create an emotion in you. Maybe you'll get some anxiety because you haven't made it to the gym yet. Maybe you feel motivated. Maybe you feel really energized and you're like, I just got to get out. I got to get out there and get my workout in. Maybe you feel the emotion of, I don't really want to do this, but discipline kicks in and it forces you, or it makes you go and do the activity. But whatever that is, that emotion is now driving your action, right? So we know that underlying how we think is a belief structure, all right? How we think then creates emotions in our body, and the emotions in our body are what push us into action. Does this make sense to everybody here? If it does, just write Y in the chat so that I can see that. Now, there are 4 levels of development. I'm going to go through each of them, but I'm going to start with the first. Now, guys, of course, the 4 levels of development, you can further open these up even more, and you can get into subgroups, but I want to keep this kind of broad for all of us here so that we don't have to get too much into the weeds with it, right? So the first level of development is victim consciousness, right? Oh my God, my spelling is ferocious right now. Okay, victim consciousness. So the belief structure that happens when we are living in victim consciousness, right? So what do we believe? In this type of world paradigm, we believe that things are happening to us. Let me give you an example of what this looks like. So a handful of years back, I had an unfortunate situation, and I got I was arrested for driving under the influence. I'm just going to be super transparent with you guys, by the way, here. So I'm not holding anything back. I'm not one of those people that need you to have this idea of me, being this like perfect human being. It's not true. Okay. So I'm just going to be 100% transparent with you guys. And if things that I say offend you, or if you're like, oh, I hate the fact that Jamil drove under the influence, I don't want to listen to him anymore, cool. If anything that I say that's real offends you, leave. All right. But so I get a DUI, and the circumstances of me getting that, getting arrested and getting that DUI were interesting. I ended up getting invited to have dinner with some friends, and I had told myself, prior, because I had been, abstaining from alcohol, and I hadn't really had anything. I hadn't had alcohol in a few months at that time. And so I was on this really good run of like eating really healthy and, being really good to my body, and feeling like, no, I'm not, there's no chance that I'm going to, let myself drink tonight or drink too much tonight. So this is going to be, there's no problem for me driving. Right. So I get into my car and I drive to this restaurant. And when I get there, I'm with a very excited group of people. And there's, one individual there. I'm not going to use any names, but there's an individual there who I was trying to bond with because I, had recently hired this person's wife on my team. And I think that he may have been feeling a little bit strange about his wife working with a man who had some influence and some money. And for whatever it was, I think that he was just really trying to get to know me and make sure that I was going to be safe to be around his significant other. Whatever that was, it is what it is, right? This is many years ago. And so this is the level that we're at, right? And he really wanted to share some drinks with me. I think that's how he was letting himself feel comfortable. It was letting him, say what he wanted to say. And I let myself get pressured. I gave in. And so we start drinking, I think this like Korean whiskey together. And it escalated way too fast, way too quickly. And I lost, count of how much I had consumed. And I end up getting behind the wheel of my vehicle, and I don't even make it very far before I'm pulled over, and that turns into a total mess. And for about 6 months after that situation, okay, I blamed the gentleman who was at the dinner that wanted to have some alcohol so that we could bond and connect. And I blamed this guy for quite a while. In fact, any time that I thought about him, I would get upset. I would get angry. I'd be like, man, I just wish that this guy didn't make me drink that night. Like, because I'm having to go through all this garbage, right? Like, first of all, I put people in danger, which was total BS. I should have never been behind the wheel of a car. That was super wrong of me. Speak to anybody who's lost a family member because of a drunk driver, and they will detest that kind of behavior. And I actually detest that behavior. So the fact that I did that was disgusting. But the fact that I'm sitting here blaming this person, right? Thinking that if this guy just didn't, keep pushing me and pressing the button and putting the drink in my face, I would have gotten away out of that situation, and I would have made it home that night, and I wouldn't have had to spend tens of thousands of dollars on attorneys and the interlock device in my car, and then the 18 months of having to drive an Uber. It was just a mess, right? Super terrible. And anytime I would see this person, I would get frustrated and I get mad, and I kept blaming this person for what ended up happening. But in the reality of what it was, I had lost control of myself, right? I'm in control of me. I made the decision to pick the drink up. I made the decision to drink another one. I made another decision to drink another one. And then I made a decision to get into a vehicle and put myself and other humans in danger, which was the actual problem, right? Another one of the actual problems was that I needed to be able to have boundaries, right? Why should it be that somebody, after 2 or 3 times of kind of pressuring me to do something, why is it that I folded so quickly, right? Why did I think that pleasing this person or making this person feel comfortable was so important to me that I was willing to fold or set aside agency over myself, where I gave agency to someone else to make a decision for me. And that for me was extremely eye-opening, because it made me understand that I was letting myself be a victim in this circumstance. Now let's use this as a parallel in entrepreneurship. Okay, so let's just say, for instance, right now you have this desire to build a business where you're, maybe buying and selling real estate, or you're holding rentals, or you're holding, you've got some other ambition in real estate that you're hoping will lead you to financial freedom. And you've got a spouse in your house. That rhymed. You have a spouse in your house that is giving you a hard time about it. They're telling you, hey, I don't like the fact that you're constantly working. I don't like the fact that you're spending all of your time listening to this content. I hate the fact that you're investing money into these things that I think aren't going to pan out for us. and that you're putting our family in jeopardy and financial jeopardy by wasting your time and your energy and your attention doing these things that are jeopardizing the safety and the financial security of our family, right? A lot of us can resonate with that, because if you've been in a relationship with somebody who's not super supportive of what you're trying to accomplish, it's very easy to make yourself the victim in that circumstance, right? And you can say, well, the reason that I'm not doing the work that I know that I need to do in order to get to where I want to go is because of that person. This person in my life is snuffing me out. This person in my life is not supporting me. This person in my life tells me that because I'm spending all my time that's outside of work on the development of this business, or that I'm investing in a mentorship, or that I'm buying this rental, or that I'm getting involved in this deal, this person is so hard on me and making it so difficult for me that I can say that the reason that I'm not progressing in my business is because of this. Maybe you've got children and your children are wanting your attention, and you're trying to build this side thing. You're trying to do this business, but they're constantly, running around, making noise, doing all the stuff, making it difficult for you to concentrate, or wanting your attention. And now that attention is not being placed on the business, it's being placed on the kids. Whatever that is, then you blame the kids. You say, oh my God, I wish I had the time to do these things. I wish I had the time to make these phone calls. I wish I had the time to learn how to comp, but I can't do any of this because I've got these children that are constantly gnawing at me and wanting my attention. So that's the problem. Or I've seen this happen a lot being a coach. Somebody will come into the Astro community, they'll come into the Sub 2 community, they'll come into Owners Club, whatever it is, and they'll say, the last mentorship that I was in this coaching program, and not all coachings are good. I can understand if there was a problem, but the last one I was in didn't work, right? And so then I will kind of ask them, okay, well, what was it about? Well, they wanted me to, get a list from PropStream, and they wanted me to send direct mail out to thousands of people. And, then I needed to have a phone, and I needed to spend money on all these things. And whatever that is, again, the lack of progress is being pointed and placed on somebody else's shoes or in somebody else's court. It's no longer my problem now. This person is the reason why I'm not successful. And many of us, if we're being super honest with ourselves, point the finger at other people to blame them for whatever it is that's going on in our life. So if you have, and it's not just an overarching victim mentality, right? Maybe you're not a victim in so many parts of your world, but in certain parts of your world, you're letting the victim consciousness stop you from actually pushing forward and doing the thing that is, going to take you to the next level. And again, just more examples of this. Say your friend circle, they like to drink on the weekends. And so you want to be social with your friends. And so your weekends are getting destroyed because your body is getting destroyed or your mind is getting destroyed, so on and so forth. Let's just say, for instance, you've got a chubby spouse and you're trying to lose some weight. And every time you come home, all you get are all these, delectable desserts. And so again, the reason why I'm not losing any weight is because my chubby spouse is always bringing dessert home and I'm, eating terrible food. So first, coming to the understanding that we are responsible for everything that's being created in our life, everything that we are seeing in our life, every relationship that we have in our world, every dynamic that's in our world is something that we've agreed to. At some level, we've agreed to it. We've called it into our experience. Now, some of the things that we call into our experience aren't going to be desirable. They're not going to be fun. I can promise you that me getting a DUI was not something that I consciously called into my life, right? I didn't consciously call into my life having to spend, a couple of nights in the pokey. I didn't consciously call into my life having to have an interlock in my car for 18 months. I didn't consciously call into my life putting people in danger. I didn't consciously do any of this. But it happened. And it was something that I agreed to. And I agreed to it when I had made the decision that I was going to have unfirm boundaries, where I was going to let pleasing other people be more important to me than having agency over myself. So my belief structure there, right? If we're going to break this down, what did I believe? Okay. Well, I believed that I needed to do certain things to make somebody happy, right? People pleasing. How many people pleasers do we have in the chat right now? How many of us out there watching this right now do things in our life on a day-to-day basis that we actually don't want to do, but we say yes to doing them because we believe that if we do this, it's going to make somebody else happy or it's going to make somebody else leave us alone, right? All of us have these tendencies, like so many of us. And so I'm just wanting us to get used to opening this up and being like relentlessly honest with ourselves. Okay. Okay. So we're people pleasing. Now, if I wasn't able to look at myself and the boundaries that I was creating around me, then people pleasing is going to be how I'm going to behave. These are the thoughts that are going to happen in my mind. So the thoughts that were happening in my mind, the belief was, right, that life is happening to me. The thought was, I want to make the person who I hired happy. I want to make her husband happy. I want him to feel safe with her working with me. I want him to feel comfortable around me. I want him to be my friend. I want him to like me. I don't want anybody to feel like I'm, too rigid or that I'm not fun. And so because of all of these external factors, okay, the thoughts were such that I created an emotion in my body that made me say, it's probably better for me to just have this drink. And then I have the drink. And then I have another one. And then I have another one. And before I know it, I'm in jail. Okay? So terrible. But that's what victim consciousness looks like. So at the end of the day, when we're living in victim consciousness, the world is happening to us. Okay? So I just want you to write that down. The world is happening to me. My life is happening to me. My relationships are happening to me. My circumstances are happening to me. My car is breaking down and I don't have enough money in my bank account to fix it. And so this is causing me to be late on my rent. This is happening to me. Okay. So that's the level of development that we're in. And just remember one more time that we don't have to be in this one stage of development in all aspects of our life, just in some. Okay. So that's where I was. The second stage of development that we can be in is the stage of manifestor. Right? Now, a lot of us are in this stage. So many of us that are on this entrepreneurial journey, that are starting to learn about the power of the way that we are, the things that we think, the emotions we feel, the actions we take, that they actually have an effect on the world around us, right? So this is where we start to feel a little bit of power. This is where we feel like we've got some agency. This is where we are doing, okay? So we're doing more, okay? And this is when I learned about meditation. Okay, this is when I learned about affirmations. This is when I learned about, getting disciplined, visualization. And I start actively doing these activities because my belief in this time is that the world is happening by me. Okay, so if the world is happening by me, because of me, it's the active, it's the doing, right? It's that masculine energy of I've got to make sure that I wake up in the morning and I put myself in a state of gratitude. I have to make sure that I remember to meditate. I have to make sure that I remember that exercising feels good. I have to make sure that I remember to, if I get a negative thought about somebody or if I feel angry about something, or if somebody triggers me, I have to make sure that I remember to remove that thought. I've got to now bring in a better thought into my mind. I have to do something actively. Okay. So at the second level of development, when we have the belief that the world is happening by me, now we start to, our thoughts, this is where it gets super hard, because this is where we start to realize how many negative thoughts we have. And we're trying to turn those negative thoughts into positive thoughts. And so this is a super stressful time. It can be very difficult because and I meet so many people in the astro flipping community that are in this spot, and they say to me, Jamil, how do I just stop myself from having these negative defeating thoughts? I sit down to do my work, and then all of a sudden I start thinking, this isn't for you, man. Like, it's so difficult to get on the phone and talk to these real estate agents. It's so difficult to get on the phone and talk to these sellers. They're so mean, or they're so hard to talk to. There's just no way for me to get on the same level with them. This is just so tough. This is the thoughts that are going on in the head. And so you're like, I need to quiet that down, because I know as soon as I pick up the phone and as soon as I start dialing, it's going to get better, right? And we know that. So we try to hack our thoughts, and we try to hack the way we feel. And sometimes we use meditation for that. Sometimes we use affirmations for that. How many of you guys stand in the mirror and say these positive affirmations to yourself on a day-to-day basis to try to trick your brain into having that be the default way that we think, right? I mean, I've done it. How many of us are doing that, right? How many of us are having to recognize that motivation is kind of not working, and we have to bring in more discipline into our life, right? I get into that space as well, where discipline has to take over because motivation is failing, right? And so here in this second stage, where we become the manifestor, we're no longer the victim of our circumstances. Now we are the active participant in our circumstances. And this is a beautiful place to be in, but it's a lot of work. It's a ton of work. And when we don't get the results that we want, right? When something triggers us, or when something pushes us, or let's just say, for instance, we have to cancel a real estate deal. Oh, the dreaded cancellation, right? I got to call this agent. I got to tell them that I'm not going to move forward with this, and they're going to be mad at me. And I feel so mad. I feel so defeated. I feel so deflated. I was counting on this money to come in, and now it's not a good deal. And this is so hard. Why is this just not working for me? Right? And so when something doesn't go our way, when we're in the stage of manifestor, this is where we can get shot right back into victim consciousness, because we're like, this didn't work for me. I was visualizing having a mansion by 2024, and I still live in a 1-bedroom apartment. What the F, right? And so many of us can get knocked in and out of stage 1, stage 2, stage 1, stage 2, because we're not getting our expectations met. And because we're not getting our expectations met, we are now starting to feel bad, right? And so we have a conflicting belief system. We move back and forth between the world is happening to me and the world is happening by me. But here's the beautiful thing, okay? As soon as we get firm, as soon as we get rooted in the manifestor stage of our development, as soon as we get rooted in that, and we get more confirmation of the meditation working, of the affirmations actually taking hold, of the discipline actually starting to pay off, of the visualizations that we're having actually starting to manifest, right? Pace and I visualized speaking on the 10X stage. I believe it was 2 years before we actually spoke on the 10X stage. And we purposely went to the 10X event. We bought tickets and we sat in the audience with the intention to be on that stage the next time Grant held the event. That was the intention that we had. Okay, so we were visualizing what it would be like to speak on the 10X stage. And so we were actively doing it. And when we finally got to speak on the 10X stage, we were like, damn, we manifested that, right? We manifested that. Look at how cool we are. We're so good. Everything that we want happens. Amazing. Right? So that's great. It's a cool spot to be in. And you start to feel super powerful when you're in this stage, and it leads to the third stage of development, which is our power stage. Now, a lot of us aren't going to be in this power stage in all aspects of our life. We're going to be in this power stage in some access or in some stages of our life. But the belief structure that we hold when we're in this stage is that the world is happening through me. And this is where we start to detach from the results. This is when we start to detach from expectation. This is where we know that we're in a collaboration with whatever consciousness, whatever energy is out there. All that is happening around us is happening through us. And we start to be able to kind of be a little more. So instead of being in the actions of doing, we are in the action of being. Right. And if you've ever thought about why they call us human beings instead of human doings, then you'll understand that being is actually a beautiful place, right? This is when we're in that state of flow. And if you ever watch a high level professional athlete play, you can see that there's very, very little thought, right? There, of course, there's some thought, right? But now when our belief structure is that the world is happening through me, then the thoughts that happen along this stage are less attached to the result, right? Now we're more receptive. So you're kind of like, what will be, will be. This is where we start to say things like, if it's meant to be, it will happen. Right? And we're more in that feminine quality. And guys, I'm not talking sex here, so please don't get this mixed up between masculine and feminine. But what I'm trying to say when I say feminine is that we are in reception. Okay, so we are more receptive at this point. This is where we're almost like we're a hollow bone, right? We are the receiver. We are downloading information. We are in constant collaboration with the world around us. We see the people around us as collaborators, and we start to think about everybody that comes into our world as a beautiful occurrence, and seeing that there might be something here for us to actually learn, or something for us to gain, or something for us to serve, right? So we start to really, really enjoy the relationships that are in our life because we become a vessel, and we've become a vessel for this energy, for this consciousness, for spirit, for God. We become a vessel for this, and it's a beautiful spot to be in. And I can find myself in this place in often. I can find myself in this place when I'm speaking on a stage. When I'm on a stage, I have thoughts, but I have very few thoughts, right? So the thoughts are that I'm here, whatever's coming through me, I'm saying. I'm not overly analyzing the things that I'm saying. I'm not looking at the audience to see, is the audience approving of what I'm saying right now? Is the audience liking what I'm saying right now? Am I getting laughs? Am I getting emotions? Are people crying? Do people feel good? Right? I'm not thinking about any of that. I'm just doing the thing. And it's almost as if I get taken over by another force, and that is now speaking through me. But as soon as that time is over, as soon as the speaking engagement is over, as soon as I'm out of that state, I'm just back to me. I'm back to the manifestor, or I'm back to maybe even victim. Let's say I fall on my ass on the stage and I fall, flat on my face, and be like, why did that happen to me? So I can see myself going from this stage of pure power where I'm like feeling like I'm in a hollow vessel, hollow bone for spirit, so that spirit can come through and work through me. And then I fall off the stage, and all of a sudden it's the stage-hand's fault for forgetting to put a sign that there was a steep drop off here, and I eat poo, and everybody's laughing at me, right? So I can fall back into victim mindset pretty quickly here if I let it. But this stage of your development, when you're in this power stage, it's very powerful. And usually, when you're in this stage, this power stage, your life starts to reflect it, right? So you start to actually, your dreams are starting to come true. Your money is increasing, your relationships are increasing, your friendships are increasing, your opportunities are increasing. Everything is expanding. Everything is expanding around you. But you can also start to feel like um, that you want to be in that state of flow. You want to be in the state of reception. You want to be this hollow vessel more than you want to be you, right? And you feel this separation, right? There's like there, I can actually feel a separation between who I am when I'm allowing life to be to when I'm allowing life to be through me, to work through me, versus who I am when I'm trying to control life, when I'm trying to kick in the door, when I'm trying to live in the Newtonian physics way of force. And now we're flopping in and out of that, right? You flop in and out. The goal being to stay in this stage longer than you're staying in the stage where you feel like you have to do versus you have to be. And again, you can spend an entire life floating between these two stages. So you can be floating between stage two, stage three, stage two, stage three. And this will actually get you a pretty damn good life. You'll have access to resources. You'll have beautiful friendships around you. You'll have beautiful relationships around you. But unfortunately, there'll still be this state occasionally of feeling separate from your source. And then the fourth stage of development is the stage that they call I am, the I amness, right? This is when there's no separation between you and your source, where you feel completely absorbed in life, completely absorbed in everything that's happening around you, where there is no separation between you and the moving force or the animating force in this world. No, instead, you are always it. You are constantly in that state, and your beliefs are that you are not separate. This is oneness. And or from the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, this is actualization. All right. So if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, this would be that state of self actualization. This is where you become and you are all of it, all of it. The shadow, the light, the good, the bad, the yin, the yang, all of these things. You're everything. Some people in spiritual rooms call this Christ consciousness. This is where they believe the Buddha ascended to. This is the ultimate state of enlightenment, right? Where you feel that sense of oneness with everything that's around you. Now, of course, it's a very difficult stage to get to. This is, I believe something that happens over a person's entire life. And we find evidence of this happening, right? We find evidence of these human beings that have walked the earth, that have hit this stage of full actualization, and we revere them. We follow them. We want to be more like them. We listen to their teachings. We follow their practices. We are walking in their footsteps because we see that there is a level of bliss, that there's a level of love, that there's a level of connectivity that these people have that we are still lacking, right? And so this oneness, this actualization of the self is, in my belief, where we're all trying to go. And so it's important for us to have an accurate understanding of what stage of development we're in. So feel free to answer this or not answer this. This is completely up to you to decide, or if you feel comfortable enough to share this with people that are in the chat. But where do you see yourself right now? Do you see yourself between 1 and 2, between 2 and 3, between 3 and 4? Where are you? Are you in a victim state? Are you in a manifestor state? Are you in a being state? Are you in a state of oneness? Now, I want to explain, some of the experiments that people have that prove this, right? So there was a scientific experiment that these researchers did where they had um, they planted these three different clusters of plants. Now, one of the groups of plants, they just did sunlight and water, right? So they provided all of the necessary ingredients for the plant to grow: adequate sun, adequate water, adequate nutrients, and beyond that, they left it alone. And then there was another grouping of plants where they had people praying for and visualizing the plant growing. Okay, so they were visualizing the plant to grow. They were seeing the plant having strong growth aspects. And then there was another group that had another group of plants where the people that were gathered around it had in their head and in their intention the only thing, thy will be done, right? So the first group was just light and water. The second group was our idea, our visualization of a strong plant. And then the third group was thy will be done. Now, the first group of plants, they grew, they did really well. The second group of plants, where the people actually actively visualized around them, they grew twice as high as the plants that had nothing happening with them. And then the third group of plants, where they just sent the intention of thy will be done, they grew twice as high as the second group. And so we can see that our own idea of what can happen, our own visualization of what can be, is never nearly as strong as what Spirit, God, would want for us. And so it's allowing ourselves to be that hollow bone. It's allowing ourselves to release expectation. It's allowing ourselves to be and to try to be in that state of connectivity for longer periods of time until it just becomes us. And we can do these, and we can get there by doing specific activities, certain exercises, and trying to live our lives in such a way where we are starting to take control back and moving ourselves back from that place of victimness through manifestation, through being, into I amness, into oneness, into no separation. And this, my friends, is what I truly believe is the evolutionary process of what we're doing here. So in your day-to-day basis, when you're sitting around having conversations and looking at the circumstances of your life, a very easy way for us to understand where we are is to look at the outpicturing of what's going on in our life right now. What's the quality of your significant relationship right now? Where is it sitting? Is it sitting in that state of victimness, right? Are you having a hard time connecting with your significant other? Are they having a hard time connecting with you? Are you sitting in that state of manifestation? Are you looking at your life right now and saying, man, I'm controlling what's going on in my world right now. I feel so powerful. I feel so confident. I know that if I just continue to pay attention to the way that to the things that I believe, that if I can actually affect the thoughts that I'm having, and if those thoughts can produce forward moving emotions, that I can actually call into my life incredible things. Or in the place of, I'm waking up and I am in this state constantly. I'm in this place more often than not, where I feel this collaboration between me and life, where I feel a collaboration between me and source, to where the things that are knocking at my door right now are of high vibration, are beautiful. They are abundant. They are expansive. Or am I sitting around feeling like I am connected to everything on in this entire universe, and I don't even want to be here anymore. Right? So that you might be in that stage too. I've met some, very few people, but I've met a couple of people in my life who I believe are in that fourth stage. And it's palpable when you're around them. You can sense the energy, you can sense that, and you're like, man, I need more of that. And so you do more of that. So be honest with yourself. Be very real with yourself, and give yourself an appraisal. You guys know how fanatical I am about appraisals, right? Be honest about the appraisal of where you are, and not in such a way where you compare yourself to other people, right? Not where you're like, well, this person is a higher developed human than I am. No, it's not about you versus somebody else. It's about you versus where you were. Because it's a lifelong path. This is a lifelong journey. It's not going to end until we're dead. And I ain't rushing to that day. I hope you're not either. But I want for all of us to take control. And the only way that we can take control is if we honestly appraise ourselves. So through the week, look at the circumstances of your life, financially, in your relationships, in the way that you treat yourself, the habits that you bring out every single day. Are you letting yourself be a victim? Are you allowing yourself to begin creation? Are you in a collaboration, or are you it? And figure out, what is it going to take for you to move on? What are the things that you need to do? I can tell you that if you're sitting in the victim state, there's a lot of forgiveness that needs to happen. There's a lot of letting go. You got to let go of a lot of baggage. There is so much accountability and so much responsibility. And I honestly feel that going from stage 1 to stage 2 is the hardest. It is the absolute hardest, because this is where we have to be relentlessly honest with ourselves, and we have to take responsibility for everything that's happening in our lives. Everything. So I hope that in this last, 53 minutes, that this has sparked within you some desire for forward growth, for future expansion, that you at least can see for yourself where you are right now in an honest way, and that you can find opportunities, people, relationships in your life that can help you move on further. I love doing this work, folks. This is what lights me up in my life as I continue to grow and as I continue to learn. One of the most important things for me to do is to be able to come onto a platform like this and share it with people. And so what I would really love to hear from you is topics that you guys might have that you're dealing with in your life. Because what I really pride myself in being able to do is going and researching these things and talking to or learning from the thought leaders in these specific situations. And then after researching them, amalgamating a thesis and then sharing that thesis with the community. So what I would hope for you to do is, if you haven't already, do me a favor. I know I ask you guys to do this, but it's such a small thing. If you just like this video today, it'll help more people see it. But once I end the live stream, okay, because right now all of these are coming in the comment section of this live. I would love to see, these are coming in the comment section of the live stream, but not the comment section of the posted video. So if you give it a few minutes, once I end the live, if you would leave me a comment for certain topics that you would like for me to go over, I'd be happy to research those topics and bring them to you. Next week, I'm going to be talking about self-sabotage. Self-sabotage. So if you've ever sabotaged yourself in some interesting way in your life, I will talk about what that looks like and how we can make some effective change. Look at that. My brother Pace Morby joining us in the chat. What's up, my bro? If you guys haven't been following Pace's Instagram I'm sure you're all watching it, but doesn't that life that he's living out in Montana right now just look absolutely incredible? Incredible, right? This is a man who's living life on his terms. He's got this gorgeous property out there, his beautiful family with him. He's got the whole community out there hanging out, eating tinfoil dinners. Just a gorgeous, heartwarming, incredible thing to see. I love you, Pace. Thank you for your friendship and thank you for everything that you do for me in my life. And I love all of you guys for joining me today and doing the hard work. This is the hard work. When we can fix the way if we can fix the things we can believe, it'll change the things we think. It will evolve the way we feel, and it'll change the way we move. I love you guys. I'll see you all next Sunday. Don't forget to like the video and don't forget to leave me that comment. And I'll see you back here next Sunday to talk about self-sabotage. Peace.